Today I'm really excited because I thought of Rotary East first because Tommy Fuchs, who is one of our graduates, Tommy is 14 now, Tommy?
Yeah.
And he came to Spokane Gill School 14 years ago and was with us, and his mom became involved and was on our school board. And Tommy approached me, he called and said that he would like to come talk to me about a project that he would like to start doing and continue on into high school next year. And as an 8th grader at St. Aloysius Catholic Grade School, they do a, what is it, Tommy? It's a social justice project every year. And Tommy wanted to take his social justice project out into the community, and he wanted to speak. He said, I'd like to speak, Bobby, to companies and see if those companies would then donate to the Spokane Gill School, because I'm so grateful for what they did for me when I was a little boy and I needed the services that they provided. So I was so moved by Tommy's gesture. I mean, it just brought tears to my eyes. So I thought this would be great. So I thought, Tommy, let's start a little slower with some people that have been very, very supportive of the Spokane Gill School, that understand what we do, and that will really appreciate your story and your journey when you started at the Spokane Gill School. So I really appreciate your time today. I just called about a week ago and talked to Deborah and said, you know, would this be a possibility? And then from here, Tommy's going to possibly go to other service clubs, and then eventually I'm going to try to get him hooked up with some businesses in the community that he can go tell his story, so that it would be a real promotion for the Spokane Gill School and all the good work that we do there for families and children. So Tom, his dad is here, who I knew as a little boy in Ephrata, Washington. So he was the first Tommy that I knew. But he's Tom, and now Tommy, I'd love you to come up and present to the East Rotary your story.
Hi, my name is Tommy. I'm 14 years old. I've come to talk to you today about the Spokane Gill School and Neuromuscular Center. Specifically, I wanted to tell you about my brain, what happened to it when I was born, and how the people at the Spokane Gill School helped me in a way that has impacted my whole life. The Spokane Gill School and Neuromuscular Center was started in 1960 by several groups or guilds of women who wanted to serve families and help care for children with disabilities while educating the community about disabilities. I think it is important to note that none of these women themselves had disabled children. They saw a need to serve the community. The Spokane Gill School serves 235 children annually in Spokane County. These children experience developmental delays and/or disabilities. The Spokane Gill School can only serve 30% of the children in the county who are eligible and in need of this program. This is important because if the school can get more money, they can serve more children throughout the community. According to their website, the Neuromuscular Center provides comprehensive assessment intake teams consisting of a nurse, a family resource coordinator, provide in-home developmental screenings, resource identification, and referral. Children are also assessed by a developmental pediatrician and a team of qualified therapists and teachers. Children with cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, spina bifida, hearing or vision impairments, speech delays, muscular dystrophy, autism, cancer, and traumatic brain injury, and other forms of developmental delays and rare syndromes are all served. This brings me to my experience with the Spokane Gill School. I don't have any of those named syndromes. I'm not what many people envision when they think of a child with disabilities. I was born a seemingly healthy 7 pounds even. I'm the 4th boy in my family. When I was 16 days old, I started vomiting and I wouldn't eat. My mom became concerned, took me to the doctor. The doctor on call that day was Dr. Vicki Wolf. She was a part-time developmental pediatrician at the time Spokane Gill School, working with and she was working part-time at the Spokane Gill School with Dr. Pisson. She decided to put me in a hospital because I was becoming dehydrated. After about 3 hours in the hospital, I had what looked like a small seizure. Then I had several more. By the time I had been in the hospital for about 8 hours, they had done a spinal tap and found I was bleeding into my spinal fluid and I was being sedated for an MRI. The doctors explained that I had something called a massive intracerebral hemorrhage at the top of my brainstem. It included bleeding into the third ventricle of my brain and had completely wiped out the thalamus. That is the part of the brain that receives all information from your 5 senses. It also regulates body temperature. According to the neurologists and neurosurgeons caring for me, this was not the type of stroke they usually see in infants. It is the kind that they sometimes see in very elderly patients who don't make it. They did not expect me to survive. Within 12 hours of arriving at the hospital, I had been baptized and was being flown to Seattle Children's Hospital in an air ambulance. Fast forward 6 to 8 weeks. Once imminent death was averted, my parents began to wonder, if I did survive all this, would I have a happy life? I wasn't developing normally. For example, none of my senses were working correctly. Newborns have reflexes like suck and swallow to eat. I lost that. Newborns can turn their head to look in the right direction when they hear a sound. I lost that. I could not track a bright object. I had very little use of my right arm and left leg, and my tongue was always hanging out of my mouth because I had lost muscle control. At 2.5 months, I was already behind. My parents realized that growing up would be hard for me. The doctors told them that I may never be able to talk, walk, feed myself, or learn to use the bathroom on my own. My parents called the Spokane Guild School and asked for an evaluation. It took them about 2 weeks to get my first appointment. As expected, I qualified for physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. My evaluation confirmed that my brain did not know what to do with the information it was getting from all my senses. I was still having frequent seizures and was hospitalized several times in that first year. The therapists helped my parents by telling them how to work with me at home and giving them a safe place to discuss their worries. They understood why my feet recoiled when they touched the grass and knew how to help me overcome it. They cheered and cried when I rolled over for the first time. They knew I loved playing any game that involved a ball. They knew I needed braces on my legs to keep me from walking on my toes. They loved me. They knew what I could do and what I still need to learn. They always accepted me for who I was. I was, but shared my parents' goal for me to be the very best Tommy I could be. I learned to run before I could walk. At first, when I would learn something new, I would suddenly forget the last thing I learned. For example, I learned to wave goodbye. My family and therapists were so excited. I performed for everyone. They decided clapping was next. After a few days, I learned to clap, and instantly I could no longer wave goodbye. It was crazy. The damage to my brain happened at the top of the brainstem. You might know that some people who have strokes on the right side of their brain lose function on the left side of their body. That crossover happens at the top of the brainstem. My brain damage was unusual because it involved both sides of my body. It was considered a puzzle by every therapist and doctor I ever saw. The people at the Spokane Guild School helped me to become the person I am today. I no longer keep my right hand fisted and curled. I write and shoot hoops. I no longer need braces on my legs. I run, jump, and pedal. I can speak fluently and express myself clearly. I am finishing my 8th grade year at St. Aloysius School. Though I have always qualified for special education services, I've been able to remain a student at the same school where my brothers, my mom, and grandpa all went to school, with just a little extra help. I enjoy playing basketball, baseball, and football. I used to play soccer too. I sing in the choir. I'm in the school play every year, and I'm on the school's leadership committee. I have many friends. I'm looking forward to going to Gonzaga Prep next year. I don't know what sort of career I want yet, but I'm interested in going to WSU or maybe Gonzaga University. I decided that talking to groups of people as an alumnus of the Spokane Guild School would be good because they did so much for me. I thought I should help them. Other people have helped me along the way too, but this is why I think my time at the Spokane Guild School was most important. The learning curve that happens before age 3 decides how much you'll be able to learn later in life. Every experience during that time builds new pathways in the brain. My brain had a big hole and all of the pathways needed to be rerouted around the damage. The work they did with me allowed my brain to repair itself and built connections that set me up for a long-term success throughout my life. I'm so thankful for the Spokane Guild School, I cannot even put into words. Instead, I will put into action and do what I can to help raise money so that other children will have the same opportunities I had to maximize my potential.
Well, we know you can walk and talk and eat. And we know that you are an awesome speaker. We know that you are extremely talented and bright, and you like to act and get on stage. I mean, I don't know that all my 3 added up did all of that, so yes, thank you to the Guild School, but what awesome parents and family and friends you have as well. I told the people when I told them you were coming, I wrote to them, I said that if you would like suggestions or if you would like, I'd like to compliment you on how poised you are and how articulate, and I can't read like that and keep track of lines when I'm thinking 3 lines ahead.
That's because you can't see.
That's true, that's part of it. Oh, thank you, I think it was something. Oh, there you are. So, if anybody has something they'd like to say to Tommy, I think, there you go. How much time do we have? Brent?
First of all, I thought it was phenomenal. I only have 2 suggestions. Is when you stumble up, don't apologize. Just keep moving on through. No reason to be sorry. It happens when you're speaking in public. And the second one, just make sure, I know you're trying to keep track where you're at. So maybe if you can kind of make an outline. And I don't know what you have there, but so you look up at the audience more and more relate, connect with them more one-on-one. I know it's
That'll come.
Yeah, it'll come with time. That's all. My only 2 suggestions. So.
You'll get that memorized.
Well, you know the story. You know the story.
Are you here to raise money?
Yeah.
This is fun.
That's from Gene Brazington, and Gene is a very sentimental, emotional, and kind person, so he loves the Guild School. So that's special $50. Anybody else? Jeff?
I just want to say, nice work. They say that public speaking scares people more than anything else, and their ability to be ready is incredible. So keep going. Number 2, I think you might have a career here as a motivational speaker, going beyond the topic of what you're talking about, but just what you went through. It makes other challenges in my life seem very simple.
So, thank you.
The more you do the public speaking, the easier for people it becomes to keep doing it.
Leo?
One of the things to realize and appreciate is the amount of work you have to put in your life to get to where you are, and it's going to serve you down the road. Sometimes when things come to them real easy over the course of their life, they don't appreciate it. I can tell you appreciate, all the amount of so hold on.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Absolutely. I stand here and I look at it and I'm
I've never weighed what he weighs.
Did you wear boots?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to forget? I don't.
4 days. 4 days to a week, actually. Yeah. Thanks.
And I'll have to say, I was real proud because Tommy, when he sent me his speech, he had gone on our internet, had researched, had watched the video, which you all saw, and had researched the history of the school, that his mom is a teacher, of course, and so she helped him, and she said, Tommy, I wanted to do all that research to put together the story, so I was really thrilled that he had taken the time to do that.
What's your favorite class?
Math.
Well, then the Guild School did something right.
Well, I have to say too, you've got everything it takes. You've got the personality, you've got the story in your heart already, and everything everybody said I think is very true, and it won't be long before you'll be standing in front of somebody saying, you know, young lad, you did a good job, and that'll be you saying that. You're going to go a long way, and so if this isn't an example to get out and sell some money for the Spokane Soapbox Derby, I don't know what more inspiration we need than Tommy Fuchs. You're awesome.